Okay, let's dive into an explainer that honestly starts as pure nightmare fuel and ends up as an absolutely fascinating psychological study. Today, we're unpacking one of the most unsettling, pervasive, and just downright weird entities in modern Japanese folklore, the Jinmenken. It's a creature that perfectly straddles the blurred line between ancient mythology and the brightly lit but deeply isolating anxiety of late 20th century city life. We are going to dissect this legend piece by piece, so settle in because this story goes to some very dark places. I want you to really put yourself in this scenario for a second. Imagine you're walking home late at night in Tokyo. It's the late 1980s. The city is massive, sprawling, and honestly pretty isolating. You take a shortcut down a dark alley behind a restaurant. It's totally quiet. Up ahead, near a rusted dumpster, you spot a mangy, unkempt stray dog rooting through the trash for scraps. Naturally, you make a little noise to shoo it away. The animal stops, its tail tucked submissively between its legs, but as it turns its head to look back at you, you freeze, absolute terror. Because the face looking back at you in the dim, flickering streetlight isn't a dog's snout. It is unmistakably the face of a middle-aged, exhausted human man. You are completely paralyzed by the sheer uncanny horror of it. And then, the true nightmare actually begins. Instead of a bark or a growl, this creature stares right through you with these hollow, sorrowful eyes, opens its mouth, and speaks in a weary human voice. Its words, "Leave me alone," or in some accounts, "Just let me eat in peace." It doesn't lunge at you, it doesn't bare its teeth, it just issues this profoundly tragic, deeply disturbing plea before slowly scurrying away into the shadows. Section 1. The Highway Terror. Because you see, this entity didn't just stay hidden in the trash-filled alleyways. As the legend grew, it literally took over the fast lane, mutating into something much faster and much more dangerous. By 1989, sightings just skyrocketed, and the creature evolved into an absolute highway predator. The setting shifted from quiet, claustrophobic alleys to the vast open stretch of the Tokyo Metropolitan Highway. Panicked drivers reported looking out their windows late at night, expecting to see empty road, only to see a large dog with a human face running alongside their vehicles in the emergency lane. The sheer cognitive shock of seeing this human face perfectly matching their speed at 100 kilometers per hour and staring right back at them caused terrified drivers to literally lose control and crash. The rumor mill absolutely exploded. Schoolyards across Japan became the epicenter for these terrifying whispers. Kids were claiming the Jinmenken could run at 130 kilometers per hour. That is insane. They said it could leap 6 meters into the air, gliding silently from rooftop to rooftop in the dead of night. They even claimed it left behind toxic green excrement. And some of the more terrifying iterations held that if a Jinmenken bit your arm or leg, the limb would have to be amputated, or worse, you would begin a slow, agonizing transformation into one yourself. And the leading theory among these panicked rumors that these things were the result of secret, highly unethical DNA experiments mixing dog and human genetics that had broken out of a subterranean lab at Tsukuba University. Section 2. Anatomy of the Anomaly. Let's start dissecting the myth. To understand why this terrified an entire nation, we need to look at what people were actually reporting and why it stands out from everything else. So the absolutely crucial point here is that unlike traditional violent monsters, the Jinmenken is not violent. It has no hunting mechanism, it doesn't want your soul, and it doesn't want your blood. Its only real weapon is the uncanny shock of its very existence. It is a profound biological transgression. The horror comes entirely from the fact that it possesses a face in a place where a human face simply shouldn't be. It shatters the natural order just by standing there. And this brilliantly illustrates the tragic irony of the creature. It possesses absolutely no magic, it just wants to eat garbage in peace without being stared at. The Jinmenken is arguably the only monster in world folklore that seems genuinely embarrassed to exist. When it tells witnesses to leave it alone, or hattoite kure in Japanese, it acts as a bizarre punchline to a terrifying setup. We expect a horrific monster with a human face to deliver a profound prophecy of doom, but instead, it just grumbles like a tired office worker whose lunch break has been interrupted. Section 3. Edo period origins. To truly understand the roots of this creature, we actually have to look away from the neon lights of the 1980s and travel hundreds of years into Japan's past. Take a look at the Jinmenken, a mythical tree bearing strange fruit with laughing human faces. This 19th century concept shows a deep historical obsession with human-faced biological anomalies in Japan. The concept of the Jinmenken actually dates all the way back to the Edo period. The idea of hybrid creatures was firmly and darkly embedded in the cultural consciousness long before concrete highways even existed. According to historical records from a text called the Gaidam Bumbun Shuyo, the lineage of this legend begins around 1810. In the Tadocho district of Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo, a dog supposedly gave birth to a puppy with a human face. And guys, the origin story here is deeply, deeply disturbing. The text claims a man suffering from syphilis acted on a desperate, horrific folk remedy that suggested, well, intercourse with a dog could cure his disease. Yeah, it's profoundly upsetting. The resulting human-faced puppy was seen as a biological consequence of a violated boundary between species. This puppy was then supposedly acquired and displayed in a misemono, a popular carnival sideshow of the era, where crowds would gather to stare at this supposed omen. Let's look at how the fears evolved over time. In the Edo period, a human-faced dog was interpreted strictly as karmic punishment. Buddhist interpretations suggested it was a deeply immoral person reincarnated into an animal's body, and their human face was the only remnant of their past sins. But jump forward to the modern era, and the explanations shifted perfectly to match the times. The Jinmenken became the result of scientific overreach, genetic mutation, or the vengeful ghosts of brutal traffic accident victims. The monster stayed exactly the same, but the deep-seated anxieties we projected onto it completely transformed. Section 4. Zoologically speaking. Let's take off our folklore hats for a moment. Was this a demon from hell, a karmic punishment, or something far more zoological? When we compare the terrifying myth against the very real Japanese macaque monkey, the supernatural begins to look a whole lot like misidentified wildlife. Macaques are native all over Japan. They are incredibly bald, they frequently venture into suburban areas to raid garbage bins at night, and crucially, they have very human-like faces. Add to that the fact that their wide range of vocalizations could so easily be misconstrued as muffled speech by a terrified observer in a dark, echoing alleyway, and you have the absolute perfect recipe for a monster sighting. Furthermore, remember that 19th century Misamono sideshow craze we talked about? While Dutch ships were importing highly exotic animals into Japan at the time. Historical records describe a gibbon, specifically called a wow-wow from Java, being put on display to massive crowds in Osaka. With so many strange human-faced primates being imported for carnivals, it is highly likely that this long, strange legend was actually fueled by the earliest sightings of escaped exotic primates, just scurrying through the old streets of Edo. Section 5. Monsters of the mind. Let's dive into the psychology of fear here, because biology can only explain so much. Beyond misidentified monkeys, we really have to examine the psychological breeding ground of late 1980s Japan. The explosive return of the Jinmenken happened right during Japan's infamous bubble economy. This was a time of ceaseless, dizzying productivity. The relentless urban sprawl was just eating the countryside, replacing traditional forests and rivers with concrete, neon, and massive highway expansions. Society was moving at breakneck speed. Traditional neighborhood structures were fracturing into isolated nuclear families. The Jinmenken is, quite literally, a myth that evolved to survive in an industrialized environment. It belongs to the expressways and the dumpsters. And look closely at the face the legend chose for this creature. It's almost always an exhausted, middle-aged, or elderly man. It is the face of someone who has been discarded by a fast-moving society. A face that no longer fits neatly into an economy oriented around relentless, unforgiving output. The Jinmenken, scraping for food in alleyways, running from human contact, completely weary of the world, makes it less of a terrifying ghost and way more of a deeply tragic reflection of isolation. It's a metaphor for the socially invisible, those left behind in the dark while the bubble economy roared on. Section 6. The ultimate fabrication. Now, prepare for the climactic twist in our investigation, a piece of the puzzle that shatters the myth entirely, yet makes the phenomenon even more fascinating. This timeline tracks how a localized whisper was intentionally weaponized into a nationwide panic in mere months. What started quietly in 1988 culminated in a massive September 1989 broadcast on the popular Fuji TV variety program Paradise Go Go Go. Once mass media gave the monster a bright spotlight, the entire nation lost its collective mind. Sightings poured in from every prefecture. The rumor mill was operating at maximum capacity. But the terrifying truth behind the 1989 highway panic?
It was entirely manufactured. Yeah. Japanese writer Motoaki Ishimaru deliberately invented the modern Jinmenken panic as a social experiment to study exactly how misinformation propagates. Members of a university urban legend club literally dressed up in white lab coats. It's almost absurd when you really picture it. Walked up to young children in schoolyards and asked, "Hey, have you seen a dog with a human face? It escaped from our research facility." They purposefully planted this seed just to see how fast the psychological virus would spread.
And the experiment succeeded spectacularly. Why? Because society was already primed with the exact anxieties required to believe it. Ishimaru and his team utilized what they called surreal realism, adding that ad-libbed phrase, "leave me alone," to ground the absurd monster in gritty, mundane reality. They leveraged the booming mass media landscape to amplify the fear, and, quite unwittingly, they tapped right back into those deeply buried historical traditions from the Edo period. The story was available to be believed because the cultural anxiety was already bubbling over. As we wrap up this explainer, I leave you with this provocative thought. The Jinmenken was seeded like a crop, and it grew like a weed. But if a monster is deliberately invented in a lab of human psychology, yet perfectly reflects the genuine fears, the isolation, and the modern anxieties of an entire nation, doesn't that, in a way, make it real? The true horror of the human-faced dog isn't the monster itself. It is how seamlessly it fit into our dark, modern world, and how desperately we wanted to believe that the shadows in our alleyways were looking back at us.